The one with the breast milk is the second episode of the second season of Friends, and this is a pretty great episode. There are things in this that really stuck with me over the years, including Hombre, which was a terrible impression, I realise that, but certainly whenever I hear or read the word Hombre, including Hombre without an H, I hear it in that voice. But the main point of the narrative here is Joey and Chandler being very weirded out by Carol breastfeeding Ben. She's at the apartment, she takes her breast out, she feeds the child. And as Ross says, it's just his son having dinner. So he encourages Joey and Chandler to ask questions. Everybody seems to be okay with it. And then, cut to a scene not too long after, Phoebe is warming up Ben's breast milk. You know what I mean. It's a bottle of breast milk, and she puts it on her arm to test the temperature. She licks it. Everybody is weirded out. And what ensues is her and Carol and Susan trying to convince Ross that it's perfectly normal to taste it, and it's not that weird. And the big question is, will Ross ever taste it? One of my favourite moments is when he finds out that Susan had tasted it. Oh, you've tasted it. I absolutely love it. No matter how many times I see that scene, I always love his response. I think it's obviously a really important episode in the sense that it helps to, certainly in 1995, when this would have aired, normalizing public breastfeeding. I realise she's not in public, but she's around other people breastfeeding and making conversations about breastfeeding more normal, trying to encourage people to ask questions about it if they're uncomfortable, to learn more about it. I think it does a really important job with that, and because Friends is timeless, most episodes of Friends are timeless. There are some that maybe aren't, but certainly this is one that I think can be beneficial even today. And we do have two subplots. One I've already mentioned with the Hombre man, and Joey. Joey is advertising Bijan for men and offering people a spritz of this cologne, and he's up against the Hombre man, who is the baddest Hombre man in the West, and Joey feels put out because everybody wants to smell Hombre. Nobody cares about Bijan for men, and I rather enjoyed that. I genuinely don't know if I've ever been into a department store where somebody has offered to spray me with a fragrance. Now I feel left out, but I rather enjoyed that side of it, and indeed how that developed. And the third one is Monica going shopping with Julie. I have to say I like the fact that they took a step back from Ross and Rachel. They're still mentioning it, they're not ignoring it, but after a couple of episodes that primarily focused on Ross and Rachel and Julie, they took a step back from that being the main narrative. But we do still get this here where Monica goes to Bloomingdale's with Julie, because Julie's friend, or I believe her cousin, has staff discount, and she has to try and keep it from Rachel because she doesn't want Rachel to find out. And there are some funny scenes that follow with, we bought boobs, which is again something that's stuck in my head from day one. But it's also quite meaningful as well. I think Rachel would probably overreact. If I'm kind of watching this, how I think Rachel would be if she found out. I think she'd overreact, but I could also understand where she's coming from because her best friend is spending time with somebody who is currently causing problems in her life, even though it's against her own knowledge. But I think it worked well to have that as kind of a subplot without making it the main focus, but still continuing that part of the overarching narrative. Needless to say, the one with the breast milk is an all-round really enjoyable episode, a lot of really memorable moments, but also some really important messages in here as well that I think will withstand the test of time. It's definitely, as is usually the case with Friends, a really quality episode.